United States plans to maintain deployment of military assets on the Caribbean Sea for the next 3 years until at least November 2028. Confirmation of this planning for the remainder of the Trump administration comes from spreadsheets for procurement of baked goods and other prepared meals for troops. While 20% of United States military assets are currently deployed in the Caribbean, that percentage could either increase, stay, or decrease, depending on progress made by dialogue. In the meantime, Russian ships have been spotted near the Venezuela coast, suggesting preparations for potential conflict. However, there are signs that dialogue could be prevailing while the lies of Maria Corina Machado are being known to the public opinion of the United States, as the New York Times has published a report that Nobel Peace Prize has been feeding Donald Trump with lies on a non-existent Venezuelan plot to interfere with United States elections of 2020. It is absolutely refreshing to see a big chunk of the United States population repudiating how the Nobel Prize of War is engaging United States military to fight for a war so that she can become instant dictator. This looks unlikely to happen, as United States ship Gerald Ford, which has been a topic of most anxiety for warmongers, has left the Caribbean Sea and has returned into Western Atlantic Ocean waters north of Puerto Rico on its way back to Norfolk Naval Base in Virginia, United States, on time before Christmas Eve. Soldiers are reported to have requested festivities along with their families, as they were in various locations in the Middle East and the Adriatic Sea before coming to the Caribbean Sea for only 8 days. It looks like Donald Trump was never eager to maintain USS Gerald Ford within Caribbean waters too long. We recall that the ship was actually stopped near Morocco during almost a week. Then it quickly entered North Caribbean Sea for a few days and has already left. News of returning USS ship Gerald Ford back to United States without having initiating a war against Venezuela has become terrible news for warmongers who actually pressured Diario Las Americas online newspaper to remove coverage from such news. The website link was only available during a few hours and it was removed. However, many other media were able to extract information contained, and it has become common knowledge that aircraft carrier will no longer be used for Caribbean operations as it departs into Norfolk through North Atlantic waters. During the last few days, we have noticed also some destroyers also leaving the Caribbean area. Perhaps these are necessary preparations for dialogue. Communications between the governments of the United States and Venezuela continue as usual, regardless of the bureaucratic designation of Venezuela as a terrorist cartel organization. Eastern Airlines flights arrive twice a week, with plenty of repatriated deportees out of the United States and into Venezuela. Illegal migration and overextension of TPS is not tolerated by the Donald Trump administration, and offenders transgressing immigration law of the United States are welcome back into Venezuela. Besides increasing frequency of deportation flights, Venezuela would be happy to discuss with the United States a comprehensive peace and security agreement on the Caribbean, which would entail joint patrolling of Chinese, Iranian, Russian, and United States military assets, as all aforementioned countries, along with nations bathed by Caribbean waters, deserve a common strategy for peace. Bilateral military arrangements of any Caribbean nations and external powers will need to be rearranged into a comprehensive global balance of power negotiation for control of the Caribbean, as none of the countries can offer full security to a Caribbean containing so many diverse countries, populations, and governments. Petroleum deals to be discussed between the governments of Venezuela and the United States must also be carefully crafted, as the interests of petroleum companies of Russia, Vietnam, India, China, Iran, and other allies operating in Venezuela cannot suddenly be provided less favorable terms in order to accommodate any special interest requested at the last minute by the United States. The United States believes it is playing tough, while it is actually losing support from a lot of constituents both inside and outside the United States. United States election meddling in Honduras has become absolutely chaotic, and President Trump is threatening Hondurans to vote for a Trump puppet in Honduras elections rather than exert their sovereignty in favor of a patriotic candidate. This strategy worked out in Argentina, but did not work out in New York City. It remains to be seen over the weekend if Honduras voters remain caught with fear of Donald Trump, or they continue their free will regardless of imperial threats. Removal of USS Gerald Ford out of the Caribbean into the North Atlantic Ocean remains as a pivot point, as it is not clear that the United States would replace it with another aircraft carrier. It must be reminded that weapons from China, Iran, and Russia combined have the capability of sinking a clumsy aircraft carrier, especially given the presence of modern Russian Navy patrolling the Venezuelan coast along with Venezuelan units. There is also the issue of the cost of $13 billion that the United States would spend on its regime change attempt operations during the next 4 years. $7 million a day are being spent on deployment of USS Gerald Ford alone, and additional funds are spent daily on the rest of Caribbean operations. If we assume a similar amount of United States war equipment, assuming no escalation, United States taxpayers will spend an increasing $20 billion allocation on an unpopular Venezuela war repudiated by a vast majority of both United States and Venezuelan citizens. Warmongers on social media are in utter despair. They were placing all their hopes for regime change on the presence of USS Gerald Ford in the Caribbean and the mere mention of it having departed Caribbean Sea, entering Western Atlantic waters, has provided despair, grief, anger, and negation. 1,870 days are still left for the presidency of Nicolás Maduro in Venezuela, which should exceed the allocated time of United States Caribbean military operations. There is plenty of time so that Presidents Trump and Maduro carefully craft a dialogue agenda where all bilateral issues can be debated. Venezuelan domestic issues such as frequency and timing of local elections, or domestic United States issues such as Epstein files, are not in agenda for bilateral negotiation. Venezuela will request reciprocity in Caribbean defense, meaning that Venezuela's allies are encouraged to patrol the Caribbean with as much frequency as the United States is doing. If the United States chooses to escalate and provide more troops and ships into the Caribbean, Venezuela, along with its allies, also has the right to escalate in defense of our sovereignty. If United States, however, chooses prudence and continues withdrawing assets, as it seems it might be doing now, with the removal of the aircraft carrier out of the Caribbean into the Western Atlantic, Venezuela would stabilize its defense spending and make sure that all major powers have a presence in Caribbean security on a mutually deterrence basis. It will also be crucial for Venezuela to protect our domestic waters near offshore gas fields, as the United States military presence in Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana is very close to Venezuelan sovereign maritime territory, which holds significant gas reserves of Plataforma del Tana and Gran Mariscal Sucre, north of Paria Peninsula, Caribbean Basin. Venezuela is likely to require heightened permanent military Venezuelan protection so that our petroleum and gas explorations can be conducted in a safe manner away from predatory practices threatened by either Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, or United States. Another topic of dialogue that Venezuela will insist upon will be on removal of sanctions, which are unilateral coercive measures imposed by United States to petroleum producing countries such as Iran, Russia, or Venezuela. International trade is unfair as Russia, Iran, and Venezuela are not provided free access to mainstream Western international financial system, which requires us to move forward into a new BRICS payment system, which to this date has not materialized, at least for the point of view of Venezuela, which remains entrenched into the United States dollar dictatorship. Countries around the world are encouraged to defend and freely trade their currencies in support of an international payments system that is not dependent on any currency in particular, while collateral such as gold or petroleum reserves are increasingly regarded as a safer store of value than volatile fiat paper currency issued by a debt-loving United States. Domestic issues from the United States remain tragic. Two Army soldiers from West Virginia were killed in Washington District of Columbia, next to the White House, while Donald Trump is vacationing in Florida for Thanksgiving. Venezuelan streets remain absolutely calm. Venezuelan population remains peaceful, and national unity is observed on a population that only wishes to enjoy life and pursue activities conducive to economic growth. Opposition leader of Venezuela, Enrique Capriles, has complained that warmongers have been so extreme in their call for United States invasion against our own country, Venezuela, has been excessive, with theatrical overrepresentations of domestic problems of Venezuela, which are stated with a narrative meant to convince uninformed United States citizens that war against Venezuela is desirable is backfiring. It is important that populations of United States and Venezuela continue interacting on social media and learning about each other, as increased contact of United States citizens in the United States and Venezuelan citizens within Venezuela can counteract the biased propaganda installed by Venezuelan diaspora in South Florida, which intends to provoke a fascist shift into world politics. We shall continue monitoring the amount of firepower deployed from the United States into the Caribbean Sea during the next 3 years and make sure that Venezuela is always capable of matching such military presence with the help of our allies China, India, and Russia until the United States realizes that any attack on either China, Russia, Iran, or Venezuela anywhere in the world will entail a coordinated, allied, global response from our alliance, as we definitely seek to transcend prior unipolarity in favor of a more just multipolar world.